Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to be together with you all. We start as always with one of the questions that's come in advance from our family joining us from all over the world, joining in online on the internet. And then we open it up to any questions that anyone here may have. So there's 2 microphones. If you have any question, please feel free to come up to the microphones. Where do you, Sadhviji, get such inspiration and energy? Where do I get such inspiration and energy? This is asked by our friend Bibi from TikTok. So here's what I found in life. When you try to force anything, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You may eventually be able to achieve some degree of the external level of that thing you were trying to make happen. But on an internal level, it's been all perspiration and no inspiration. And so at the end of the day, even though you may have, quote unquote, achieved it or accomplished it, you're enervated. You have no energy left. You're not exuberant. You are exhausted, and not exhausted in that beautiful way of, having hiked to the top of a mountain and being exhausted that night, but just a general sense of fatigue. That's not what we're looking for. We're not looking for achievements and accomplishments at the expense of our internal energy. But here's something else really interesting, is not doing things. We think, oh, well, I feel tired. I don't feel energized. Therefore, I will do less. I will just rest. I will sit down all day. I'll watch TV. I'll scroll social media, whatever. You actually end up with less energy at the end of the day than you had at the beginning. Now, I'm all in favor of taking time to rejuvenate and replenish, but it's really important to recognize that when you're looking for a consistent source of energy, of vibrancy, it doesn't actually come from stopping doing, sitting down, putting your feet up, and just deciding you're not going to do. But it also doesn't come from that other extreme of just, I'm going to make it happen. What there is a place that's neither this nor that. And that's a place of being connected to what we call divine will or divine flow or divine energy. You're connecting into an energy source that already exists. Like, I'm sitting here in front of you. These chairs go really quite far back. I'm not great with measurements, but quite far back. If I didn't have a microphone, you couldn't hear me. Now, if I wanted to convey something to you, and I didn't have a microphone, I'd have to shout at the top of my lungs. And I couldn't do that for very long. But this microphone, due to the fact that it is connected, it is plugged in to a source of electricity. The source is there. I don't have to create it. I don't have to create the energy required to reach you all in the back. Because this mechanism is plugged in. to that source. These lights, they're plugged in. Electricity is there. They've just plugged themselves into it. Anytime, in the house you want to do anything, you just plug it into an outlet. There's already a source of electricity flowing. Could you imagine the amount of energy it would take to blend up a smoothie or a shake if you didn't actually have an electric blender and you had to just, shake it up? But we've got this thing and it's connected to a source of energy and you just hit the button and it's on. And what I have found on a personal level about life is if you can connect yourself in, plug yourself in to that source of energy that exists, that energy is there. You don't have to generate it. You don't have to tire yourself out because it's not you doing it. Like, this is me making a smoothie, right? But hitting the button, that's not really me making a smoothie. The blender's making the smoothie. I just hit the button. It's connected. If you're able to connect yourself to that divine source, whether we say God, whether we say spirit, whether we say source, whether we say the divine universe, whatever word you use, if you can connect to it, there's an infinite amount of energy. So for me, it's really about that. It's also, and this goes along with it, is about you recognize what is the will, like what is the direction the flow is going? And how can I align myself with that? Those of you who have been coming to satsang for a while or watch videos or anything may have heard me talk about the full moon. It's something I love to share on full moon days because whenever there's a full moon in the sky, we look at it and we say, oh my God, the moon is so beautiful, it's so bright. And throughout history, there's all these stories of the moon, not just as the source of inspiration for poems and songs, but actually as that which guides people home. If you're lost in the forest, if you're a sailor, if you're out in the ocean, out in the forest, it was the moon that guided people, that gave them light, showed them their way out of the jungle, showed them where to go, the direction to head. But the truth is, the moon actually has no light of its own. The moon is a piece of rock, just like the earth. In fact, they think that at one point it was part of the earth. It's lightless. Doesn't generate any light at all. But what the moon has done is positioned itself in such perfect alignment between the sun and the earth that the moon becomes able to reflect that light of the sun onto the earth. And so on days when we say there's no moon, it's a moonless night, new moon, Amavasya. Well, the moon hasn't actually gone anywhere. Nothing's changed about the shape of the moon. All that's happened is she's gone, you could say, out of alignment between the sun and the earth. So there doesn't seem to be any light. She's not able to be that instrument of light for others. And on those full moon nights, well, she's in perfect alignment. And so if you're looking, as Bibi has asked, for this inspiration and energy, it's really about, I found, getting in alignment. It's not so much how do I generate it within me, but it's about how do I plug in, how do I connect, and how do I align myself so that even though I may not be the generator of the light, nonetheless I'm able to be the reflector of it. I'm able to be the bearer of it, the giver of it, the sharer of it. Because otherwise, in the nighttime, the sun has no way to give us light. It's only because of the moon that we're able to get light in the night. So allow yourself to plug in, whether it's through prayer, whether it's through japa, chanting, through seva, through singing and kirtan, through your meditative practices, through mantras. Whatever it is, but allow yourself to get connected. And you'll find that. The other last piece that I would mention is I tend to take both myself and things in the external world quite lightly. And I have found that the more heavy you take it, the more tired you are. You're enervated and you're exhausted. When you spend a lot of energy, brain energy, thinking about all of the things that are going wrong in the world around you, people who are acting in certain ways, people who are doing certain things, saying certain things, things that you don't like, things that aren't how you would have them, maybe aspects about yourself. Whatever it may be, the more energy you spend thinking about it, and then especially if you talk to others about it, like not in a deep, open-hearted, I need some help sharing type of way, but in that gossipy kind of, oh my God, I can't believe it. Did you hear what he did? God, it makes me so annoyed. He's just the worst. Like that type of stuff is the fastest way to sap your energy. And taking yourself too seriously also. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm worthless. I'm never going to be anything. I'm horrible. I'm ugly. No one likes me. I'll never achieve my potential. All of this, it just saps your vital energy. So align yourself, plug yourself in, and realize we're here. We're playing a role. We're playing a role on God's divine stage. We're doing the very best we can. But play lightly. The Sanskrit word for that play is lila. The divine drama, the divine play. Not the divine headache. The divine play. So you take it sincerely, but you take it lightly. Let go of that death grip on life. It has to be like this. Because then you find it's you in the vice. And you whose energy is sapped. Great. Thank you, Bibi, for the question. Other questions? Any questions that anyone here has? Yes, you can come up to the microphone. Namaste.
I have two questions.
Sure.
Yeah. One is, One is, how do we keep our young adult kids settled overseas connected to our Indian culture and values?
Great.
And the second one is, how to start meditating who have not done before?
Okay. So, how do we connect our younger generations living abroad back to our culture? So here's what I have found in life. The truth is a magnet. People are looking for truth. People are looking for light, they're looking for answers, they're looking for inspiration. And they're looking all over the world for it. Lots and lots of people who are not even born Indians and now they've just gone abroad. But people who are born into the Christian tradition, the Jewish tradition, and atheist traditions, people in non-Eastern traditions abroad are turning toward Hinduism, toward Buddhism, toward these teachings, toward Sikhism, toward so many different Eastern traditions, because they're looking for something. The number of Americans, British, Europeans, Australians, again, not Hindu or Buddhist by culture, not Indian or Asian by ethnicity, are practicing really deep Buddhism, Hinduism, Sikhism. Why? Because there's benefit. They find something in that tradition that touches them, that benefits them, that fills for them a hole that previously had existed in the culture that they were living in. All we have to do is actually live it in such a way that our children see the benefit. The problem is that a lot of the older generations, we live it like a niyam, just like kind of a habit, a way of being, but not something that our children look at and say, oh, that looks really wonderful. So we may do all of the rites, do all of the rituals, celebrate Diwali, celebrate Janmashtami, celebrate this, do all of these things. But then at the end of the day, they see us angry, yelling, superficial, judgmental, negative, disloyal, gossiping, this, that, the other thing. And one thing about this younger generation, especially those who have moved abroad, but not only them, I'm seeing it a lot here in this country as well, is they're not prepared to take what their parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles tell them just because we tell them. Now, a lot of people come and they're like, "Are mere bachon ko kuch to samjhao." Like, explain something to them, get them to behave. We take what they say as an insult or as rudeness, and they don't mean it like that at all. What's happening is they're looking for validity. They're looking for answers to why. Okay, you want me to light the lamp every morning. Why? You want me to put on a tilak. Why? You want me to do yagna or do arti. Why? And there are answers for all these things. But if we don't have the answers, and what we say is, just because I told you so, and then we get angry and we say, "Well, to maine kabhi aise nahi pucha tha. Tum kya samajhte aap apne aap ko?" And we start making them feel badly and rude for even having the audacity to ask such questions. They're just going to go further away. They're like, "Ha, malum tha kuch hai nahi usme." Right? If mom and dad don't have the answer, but they're trying to force a behavior or a way of life that they have no answers for, your kids are going to sniff it out. The days are long gone of just because I said so. But here's what's beautiful. The answers are there. And it's therefore a beautiful challenge and opportunity for the older generation to actually learn it and live it in a way that's meaningful and transformational, that isn't just we're doing it because our parents told us to do it. And that's going to benefit you. And then it's going to benefit your kids, because if you meditate, and when you stand up from meditating, or you go into the temple, and when you come out of the temple, you are different. You go in, you're stressed, you're upset, you come out, you are vibrant and grounded and centered and anchored. They're going to notice. In the same way that our kids learn, if our way of dealing with stress is to come home and have, a few shots of vodka, well, you can be pretty sure that's what our kids are going to grow up doing. But if what they learn is, when you've had a rough day, go sit in the temple, meditate, read some inspiring scripture, do yoga, chant. That's what they're going to come back to. So they're looking for truth, but we actually have to live it in a way that is deep and meaningful, not that's just ooper-dooper rituals. And that gives you a beautiful opportunity as well to then dive into that. Because I guarantee you, they're looking for happiness, they're looking for peace, they're looking for meaning in their life. If you show them a place where that really exists, they will flock to it. But then it's up to us to actually live it in a way that it's authentic and real so they understand. Meditation. So, meditation is an undoing. It's not actually a doing. It's an undoing. It's not about, here's a list of all the things you have to do. It's an undoing of that which is not self. So if we spend our lives identifying as this body, this story, this narrative, this career, this history, we suffer. When we sit down to meditate, we let go. We let go of it all. Sometimes we let go just on the exhalation. Sometimes we let go because we drop into mantra. We drop into spaciousness. Sometimes we let go through a practice called niti. Just not this, not that. But it's a letting go and a return of the awareness. Usually our awareness is all around us. Oh, that sound. Oh. I always love it. Every once in a while in satsang, somebody will open up their bag. Like somebody will have a purse and they'll just open up their purse. Or somebody accidentally will have forgotten to turn off their phone and a phone will ring. And what you'll see is 100% of the eyes go. Now, it's like we've never heard a zipper open. We've never heard a phone ring. We know exactly what it is. It's not, oh my God, there could be danger. Right? I mean, a car backfires. It could be a gun. Okay, you turn your head. A zipper? Like some lady in front of you is opening her purse? Really? All the, like this. Our awareness, even when we are sitting in a place like satsang, our awareness is so all over the place that all it takes is a zipper or an errant ring of a phone for 6 seconds until they turn it off to distract everybody. So in meditation, what we do is we take that awareness and we give it some place to go, some place inside. A mantra, our breath, a light within, spaciousness. Some people meditate on a prayer. Some people do open-eyed meditations on a flickering candle flame or an image of the divine. But it's to give that awareness something to anchor it. There are schools of meditation in which you're not specifically directing the awareness, but you are just being aware. And you, as self, identify as the one who is aware rather than the object of awareness. So that's another way to do it. Is instead of giving the awareness actually something to be aware of, a mantra, your breath, you simply allow it to be aware of whatever it's aware of. But you anchor yourself in that presence of awareness. So you could say right now, I'm aware of this paper. Now I'm aware of the glass. Now I'm aware of my hand. Now I'm aware of the camera in front of me. Right? Just different things that are grabbing my awareness. But I'm the one who's watching. I'm subject, not object. Objects keep changing. But I anchor into the awareness of subject, the one who is aware. So there's a lot of different ways in. But what's most important to realize is it's an undoing, not a doing. The greatest problem that beginner meditators have is they say, oh, I'm not doing this right. Oh, I'm awful at this. I can't do this. I hate this. It's not working. Those are just thoughts. They're just thoughts. They're just fluctuations in the mind. It's the nature of the mind. Whether the mind is saying, Aham Brahmasmi, I am the divine, or whether the mind is saying, I left the coffee pot on, either way, it's the mind talking to me. Now, the first one, of course, is a lot more conducive to going into a deep state of meditation, but ultimately they're both just mind. And the point is to recognize neither am I the voice that is saying Aham Brahmasmi, nor am I the voice that's anxious that the coffee pot is on. I am one with the divine. The first voice is actually telling the truth. Second voice could also be true. I very well may have left the coffee pot on. But in both cases, I am not that voice. I am that presence. I am that consciousness. I am that soul. Unchanging. Because for anybody who has a deep meditation practice, what you'll find is that sometimes the mind is saying, Aham Brahmasmi. And other times the mind is saying, the coffee pot's on. You didn't send that email. Oh my God. It's the nature of the mind. But I am that which doesn't change. If it keeps changing, you can be sure it's not you. Whether it's your body, whether it's your thoughts, whether it's your career, whether it's your relationships. If it keeps changing, it's not you. So meditation through any of the different techniques, and of course there's hundreds more, simply allow us to touch that consciousness, that presence, that awareness, that soul, that spirit, that light within us that is true. And they're all just different ways in. So use whatever works. In the early stages, maybe try a few different ones. But then once you pick one, stick with it. Once you find something that works, just use it. Because otherwise you get too stuck on the technique also. Just remember, it's just there to get you across that ocean. Beautiful, yes. Other questions? Yes, come.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm struggling to understand within my own business, how do I know if the goals that I have being motivated and driven are okay, or whether it is my ego wanting more?
Beautiful. So, most goals, especially in business, are ego-driven, but that doesn't mean that they're wrong or bad. Just because the ego, meaning my separate sense of self, That's what the ego is. It's just a separate sense of self. The ego is that which distinguishes us from other people. The ego is that which tells us, oh, I'm really good at this, I should do more of that. Just because the ego says, oh, I'm really good at this, I can make that happen. That will be a good thing to do. That'll help a lot of people even, and then that'll make me feel good. Well, that's all ego, but that doesn't mean it's bad or wrong. Pretty much any goal other than self-realization, God-realization, or just being an instrument in God's hands, that goal of seva. When we do selfless service, it's, as I always say, it's not just that which theoretically could be benefiting others, but it's actually that which is purifying our mind, our intellect, showing us we are just instruments in the divine's hands. We are not the doer. Any goal other than those is going to be ego-driven. And that's okay. The goal with the ego is to not let it run your life. But that doesn't mean that you have to kill it, annihilate it. And in a lot of cases, especially in business, in work, it's the ego that tells you, this is the ability you have, this is the strength you have, this is how you're going to do it. That's okay. Just stay clear. Be aware of it. Keep checking in deeply with yourself. The ego, you can think of it as the role you're playing. Right? We're all here playing a role. The role is the body, it's the narrative, it's the story, it's the history. It's all of that. And the ego's part of that. So just stay really clear about whether that ego is driving you. Is it pulling you into places that your inner voice says, no? Then obviously you don't want to listen. So you've got to stay connected and present and clear. It's where your meditation practice is going to help. It's where introspection and contemplation can help. This goal, is it really in the service of my unique gifts to the world? Is it really of some benefit to the world? Or is it just going to make me something that's going to feel like, the big man on campus? Because that's a degree to which you don't want to let your ego go. And the reason being is at the end of the day, you're the one who won't be happy. Then you become just one of those people who's got a mansion or several mansions, lots of expensive cars, expensive clothes, and you feel empty inside. I don't have enough fingers and toes to count the number of people I know like that. It's its own epidemic. And it's very frequently the end result of a life that is spent focused on just acquiring, attaining, earning, gratifying the ego. But if by ego you're talking about a unique skill set, unique gifts, unique abilities, unique opportunities, the feeling of satisfaction and fulfillment that comes when we help others, it's ego. But it's ego that at least is in service of actually benefiting the world. If you were doing it without any ego, then it would just be, I'm not the doer, it's all God. So there would never be a sense of like, oh wow, that, I feel so fulfilled and good. But there's nothing wrong with that feeling. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It's the feeling that inspires so many of us to do the work we do. Every once in a while, in beautiful, powerful, deep meditations and awarenesses and introspections, you really touch that place of knowing, yeah, it's really not me, it's just God. And the rest of the time, you feel good about being able to make a difference. You recognize, yeah, that's ego, okay. So I'll meditate on that. Because the last thing that you want is, the spiritual illness of, I'm the most humble around. So you meditate on that. But just because something is ego doesn't mean it's wrong or bad, and therefore you shouldn't have the goal. But just make sure that the aspect of the ego you're listening to that's driving it is at least what you could consider the healthy ego. Because there are healthy aspects of ego. They're not very healthy spiritually, but they're very healthy psychologically, mentally, societally. So just make sure it's the healthy part of the ego that really wants to share your gifts, use your skills, use your abilities, make a difference in the world. And not the part of your ego that just wants to get more, have more, achieve more, acquire more, because then I'll feel like more. So distinguish that. And just make sure that in the midst of this business, you've got a deep meditation practice such that at least once, better twice a day, but at least once a day, you're able to anchor in that part of you that is not ego. That you're able to at least let go of that story at least once a day. At least for a certain period of time to remind you, I am not that. It's the role I'm playing, but I am not that. Okay? Beautiful. Yeah, last question.
Namaste, Sadhviji.
Namaste.
My question is, what are your thoughts on rebirth, reincarnation?
Rebirth and reincarnation. I definitely believe in it. We spoke about this actually just a few nights ago. To me, it's the only thing that makes sense. We do have a lot of scientific evidence for it. A lot of studies, a lot of research, a lot of evidence, a lot of books. But to me, it also is the only thing that makes sense, because otherwise you think, really, we're just here like just once? Then almost none of it makes sense. Then really almost none of it makes sense. Because see, if there's not rebirth and reincarnation, then there's also no moksha. Moksha is that which is the end of the rebirth and reincarnation. So if there's no cycle of rebirth and reincarnation, then there's no liberation. Because what's the alternative? So if there's no liberation, then why not just eat, drink, and be merry, right? I mean, like, why bother? Do what feels good. You're anxious? Well, don't bother meditating. It takes too long. Just take a pill. If at the end of this, it's over. And by the way, also, when you talk about rebirth and reincarnation, to me, it's intricately linked to this core truth, which is who we are is divine. Because if there's no rebirth and reincarnation, then I'm not quite sure how you would have souls or a soul. right? If all you've got is one birth, one life, one body, then what else is there? And if you have a soul, where does it go? What happens? Why would a soul be created just for 60 years, 100 years, 120 years, 4 years, however long someone lives? So it actually takes, for me, the very premise of life. Connecting to self, connecting to soul, connecting to God, connecting to truth. And it actually wipes all of that out. Because I'm not quite sure how you would fit soul and spirit and God and self into something that doesn't also have a continuity. The cycle of birth and death and souls, it's that idea that there is continuity. And without continuity, then it's random. And to me, that doesn't make any sense at all on a scientific level, on a spiritual level. So yeah, I very deeply believe in it. Again, because the science says it, because the sages and saints and gurus and scriptures say it, but also because it's that which feels the most true. Like I know there is an aspect of me that is not my body because I've touched it, I've experienced it. When you meditate, when you close your eyes and you go in, you touch a part of you that is not body. What is that then? Body keeps changing, body keeps changing. What is it that's constant? Well, we call it soul. But then do you believe that, well, when the body dies, it's over? It didn't change at all through any of the other changes of the body. I went from being a newborn to being 85 years old. Through all those changes, every cell of my body died and was regenerated. That true self stayed constant throughout it all, but now in this final change of the body, it's over, no more soul. See, that doesn't make sense to me. So, yeah, I very deeply believe in it. Beautiful. There will unfortunately not be satsang for the next 3 nights. I am traveling to Dubai and Abu Dhabi for a function. I will be back on the 22nd. Today is 18th, yes. I leave tomorrow night. What day of the week is the 22nd? Somebody tell me. I'm sorry, Thursday. Thursday. We will have satsang again on Thursday. Thursday the 22nd. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful rest of your night and 3 days. All of the other beautiful programs here at the ashram, the yoga, the meditation, the morning fire ceremony, the arati, of course, everything else is still on. So absolutely be sure to take beautiful advantage of all of those. They are open to all. There's no charge for any of it. So I hope that you will dive into all of those beautiful opportunities. And I look so forward to seeing you back again on Thursday the 22nd. So much love to you all.